Hello and welcome to Kedrick Farms. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how to edit an existing Courseplay course with the built-in Courseplay Editor. This is a piece of functionality that I feel is kind of snuck into Courseplay under the radar. Not a lot of people know about it, and so I thought I'd do a tutorial on what it is and how it works. To get started, we're going to need to create a Courseplay course, and so I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick Mode 1 grain transport course, and we're all set up here with a tractor and a trailer, so I'm going to hit Start Course Recording, and we're just going to run this course right up to a sell point. We're on a relatively newly released map here called the Mod Test Map, and this is on the in-game Mod Hub, and what I like about this map is it has everything set up to do tests of different mods and do whatever you want. Now you can see here I'm not exactly creating the best Courseplay course there. I kind of missed the ramp into that sell point, and normally that would be kind of a problem, and I'd either have stopped recording the course and deleted a bunch of waypoints and gone back, or I would have just canceled the course and started trying to record it from the beginning. But to be honest, this course will probably still work for what it's intended to, but it's going to give me a good example to show how the Courseplay Editor works. And so we're going to go ahead and start this course and just run through it real quick to show how this would have worked without any edits. And then once we get down there, we're going to make a few tweaks to the course just to make sure we have confidence that we're not going to have issues running into the building or getting stuck on that curb. So as you can see here, we're coming in pretty far off course. And, while this is working and we're able to pop up over that curb, it's really just not an ideal course. We'd like to come into this sell point fairly straight. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to stop the driver so that we're not actually running a course, but we still need to have this course loaded. And with the driver stopped, but the course loaded, we're going to be able to bring up the Courseplay Editor by pressing left control numpad 0 as the default key binding. You may have a different key binding available to you. I'm bringing up my keyboard controls here just to show you this toggle course editor is the Courseplay Editor option that's going to bring up the Courseplay Editor interface. And then there's also several other key bindings that are going to be useful. However, we're going to be able to see all of these on the F1 help menu in-game. You can see some detailed information about the waypoints that you're mousing over at the top of the screen. The first number there indicates which waypoint we're looking at. So in this case, I moused over waypoint number 64. If I move forward, I'm over waypoint number 65, 66, so on and so forth. You can see here at the bottom of the screen in a Courseplay course, it tells you how many total waypoints there are. And so this course has 86 total waypoints. The second number that you see between the colons is how fast the vehicle should target driving coming into that waypoint. And so as I move my mouse here to the left, you can see that that miles per hour increases as we go down this straight part of Courseplay. And that's an option we'll be able to tweak if we want, which I'll show later. The third piece of information there is what type of waypoint this is. And so in this case, these are all normal waypoints, but if we had a different kind of waypoint, we'd be able to see what that is here. We'll take a look at the different kinds of waypoints a little bit later in this video as well. But let's dive into the core mechanics of the editor, which is making changes to the course itself. So in this case, we've got this big curve here, but we came in a little bit too wide. And so we want to be able to straighten this back out so that I'm driving down the middle of this path. And so in order to do that, I'm going to mouse over this little dome that you see here, and I'm going to hold down my left mouse button, and I'm able to now drag these waypoints into a much better position so that we're going to come into this a little bit straighter. As I've shortened this course a little bit by making it narrower, I'm finding that I just have too many waypoints here to interact with, and what I'd really like to do is be able to remove some of these. So if I push F1, I'm going to be able to pop open the help menu, and you can see that there's a lot of additional options here for Courseplay that are mapped out, and one of those is the delete waypoint option. And so now I'm going to be able to mouse over one of these waypoints and press Control 5 on my keyboard, and you'll notice that that waypoint disappears. And this is going to let me get rid of a little bit of the extra waypoints and be able to fine-tune this course a little bit better in a way that makes sense for me. Once we've made some edits to the course, it's always a good idea to test those out. So I'm going to go ahead and change my course here to nearest waypoint, and I'm just going to do a U-turn here and hop back into this course and hit drive course and see what happens. Now, you can leave the Courseplay Editor mode enabled while you test your course, just to make sure that everything looks good, and it gives you a little bit better visual of where the course is. And as you can see, that's a much better turn. We went right over that ramp without any problems. Now, we're back up at the start point here for the course, and I wanted to show off the different types of waypoints. And if you see here, when I mouse over the start waypoint, that it has a type of crossing. And the stop waypoint will as well. I'm not going to cover what each of the different waypoints mean in Courseplay in this video. However, if I mouse over this one and press left control 8, you'll notice that I can set the type of waypoint that we're going to use. So in this case, this is a wait or, parking sign type waypoint. I also have an unload, a crossing, a turn start, a turn end, a reverse, and back to a normal waypoint. And so again, by pressing Control 8, I can toggle any waypoint in my course to be the specific waypoint that I'm looking for. So if I'm working on a course and I forget to set a waiting point in a specific spot, I can move things around and replace that wait point at an appropriate spot in the course. Very handy when you're working on things like overload courses. As I mentioned earlier, one of the other features of Courseplay is that each waypoint has a desired speed associated with it. And so in this case, I'm mousing over a waypoint that has a 41 mile per hour desired speed. Now, it's really common to create a course for Courseplay with an empty vehicle where you're potentially going quite a bit faster than you would with a fully loaded vehicle, or the vehicle physics operate quite a bit differently once you've filled it up with material. And so maybe you would take a corner way too fast with a truck and it would tip over in certain scenarios. And so I've always wished, it'd be great if there was a way for me to slow a vehicle down when it goes around certain corners in Courseplay. And I don't always remember to do that when I'm recording the course. And so you can mouse over a given waypoint and use the left control 1 and 2 keys to either decrease or increase the speed of a given waypoint. And so in this case, I'm going to push left control 1, and you can see that I'm stepping down the speed for this waypoint by 1 mile per hour at a time. If I push left control 2, I can increase that speed again to whatever is the most desirable for a waypoint. I discussed deleting a waypoint earlier by pressing left control 5, but we also have the ability to delete the next waypoint. So you can see I've highlighted waypoint 23 here. If I push left control 6, you'll note that I deleted the waypoint immediately in front of it here. This can be really useful if you have a course set up and perhaps you placed a placeable down or something's in the way and blocking your view of that waypoint. You can delete waypoints ahead of where you're at to get rid of those waypoints if you're unable to actually physically click on that waypoint. The other useful feature is you can add a waypoint in, and so this is a pretty big gap here, which is probably fine in this scenario because it's a fairly straight section. But if I wanted to make a little bit better of a curve here or do something interesting with this course, I may need an additional waypoint. And so I can push left control 7 while highlighting a waypoint, and it's going to add one in the center between the next waypoint and the one that I have highlighted. And so I can keep doing that as many times as I want to create additional waypoints. And if I've created too many waypoints, I can always delete that last one that I created by pushing left control 6 to delete the next waypoint. The other really cool feature while you're in the editor mode is if you've made a mistake and say you deleted or added a waypoint that you didn't intend to, you can push left control Z to undo your last action. and you can actually keep pressing that as many times as you want to put the points back the way that they were, and the history of that will go up to the last time you either brought up the editor or saved the course. At any point when you're happy with your course, but you still want to make additional edits, you can push F6 to save the changes, and that will reset the history for undo to this point so that you'll only ever undo back to the point that you've saved the course. Closing the editor by pushing left control 0 also saves it. But like any Courseplay course, you still need to come in here and save the actual course in order for that to persist between game sessions. The last set of features that I want to cover are the delete to start and end waypoints section. And where these are useful is if you're making edits to a course and perhaps like me, you've got your start and your end points maybe a little bit too close to each other. And rather than come in here and delete, 5 or 10 or a bunch of waypoints, you can highlight a given waypoint, and then we're gonna push left control and the right square bracket, and that's going to remove all the waypoints after the one that you have selected and move the stop point to that currently selected waypoint. And so that's really useful in situations like this where now I can kind of set my stop point where I want, maybe add a couple of waypoints back in just to make sure I have a nice smooth curve here, and makes my life really easy. The same applies to the delete waypoint start, where I would be able to highlight one and delete the waypoints before it. My only word of caution with this feature is that you will be unable to use the undo command to replace the waypoints that were deleted by that action. And so if you do use the delete waypoints to start or end functionality, you should be really careful with that because you won't be able to undo that action at this point. Hopefully that's something that will get fixed in a future version. Hopefully you found this tutorial helpful on the basics of how to use the Courseplay Editor. If you found this helpful, I've done several other videos on Courseplay that I've put in a playlist on the channel, so please check those out. And as always, if you have any questions, we do have a Kedrick Farms community Discord server, so please think about joining that server. There's a lot of people on there that know a lot about Courseplay and other mods in the game. That's all for today. Kedrick, out.